Only quite funny. You nearly got one. Never. That's good. Ignore that. That's the way benefit. How many have we got? You haven't done your makeup though, mate. You haven't tested that. You got your perfume on though, haven't you? Is it Rosso? You got his perfume on?
He said it's washing it.
Yeah, we all say that. So Ross, apparently you're wearing perfume. Definitely him. Are we all here? Say that in English. I have no idea. Yeah, probably. Give me about that. Is there anyone else outside? No. That's us. Don't worry too much, guys. Don't worry too much. So, we are going to talk about something called skill acquisition today. Okay? Anyone heard that phrase before? Do you know what it means? Any idea what it might mean?
Skills.
It does mean skills.
What skills you have?
Skills you have, yeah? So,
Skills you need to do.
yeah, so it's skill acquisition is basically how we get our skills, how we acquire our skills. So the different learning techniques that we have, the different ways in which we learn from about and how the brain stores information. Okay, so because it's nice and simple, if you guys go in a group, just for a couple of minutes, talk between yourselves about how we might gain skills, how we might learn skills. Okay? So have a chat.
Drills. Drills. That's practice, isn't it?
Now it's a different group. You're in this group, so just
Practice and like
and have a chat.
not the same drill, but they're doing different things. No, it's the same height, it's the same for like next week, don't do the same like things, just keep doing different like speeds or
Hey guys, all of that said was practice and absolute science. Anything else?
it's like don't do a bit of don't like do a bit of right spin, then like one thing first.
Can do that. What does that do? You can? It's gone quiet over that. I'll tell you what, you guys all okay, so well then, Tommy, tell us a little bit how we learn, how we acquire our skills.
Don't like just keep practicing at like an easy level, like challenge yourself.
Yeah, definitely challenge yourself. Because if we don't challenge ourselves, we're not going to learn anything new about it. Anyone else? Anyone else? Go on.
Instead of like doing like front foot drive, we have like on one board.
Trying different types of practice, so variable practice. So lots of different types of things. So like we did last week, when we were trying to hit in a 360 arc, just try something, see how you can hit over there, see how you can hit over there. Yeah, exactly.
Don't practice things you're good at.
Don't what?
Don't practice things that you're really good at.
Yeah.
Practice things that you're not so good at.
Yeah, so improving the stuff that you struggle with, definitely. What happens if we don't practice the stuff we're good at? We don't train that skill.
You need like a moderate practice of both strengths and weaknesses.
Yeah, exactly. So we need to improve we can definitely improve on our strengths and make them really absolutely top notch. And then we can improve on our weaknesses as well, definitely get them up to being a strength, turn them into a strength. Okay, so do you understand how our brains work? Anyone?
No. Yeah.
Are you aware that there's two different types of consciousness and unconsciousness? There's two different types of learning. No? So we got this. There are two neural pathways. Okay, so one is our unconscious learning. So you guys have just picked up that I'm doing that, but you're not thinking, is he clicking his fingers? That's your unconscious has picked up that. Whereas actually what you're doing is listening to me and getting through all the words I'm saying. So your conscious brain is taking those notes in. Okay, so we're consciously trying to do something. Unconsciously, we're just taking in all sorts. Do you think about colours and things like that? stuff that's over here, so I can see a pink little thing over here, okay? I wasn't concentrating on that, that's just there, that's my unconscious mind focusing on that. So our unconscious is what makes us react and learn, and sort of it's the muscle memory that you were talking about before. So it's that we're trying to hone. Okay, so whereas conscious memory is a little bit slower, the unconscious memory is what we're trying to hone. So how do you think, just again, talk amongst yourselves about how you think we can improve our unconscious memory so we can remember how to repeat our skills, to learn our skills.
Be a sponge.
Be a sponge.
What?
What's an hour?
What is it?
A sponge.
Yes, sponge.
That's the same.
Yeah.
He's a bit.
You guys are on client. Why are you on client?
Don't, when they say stuff, don't let it go through one ear.
That's broken.
You're reading the
That's
same.
right.
As
Tell me stuff.
in the
Debbie, come in.
one.
Talk to me about what you think. How do we learn? How do we learn?
He was something wrong.
Yeah. So, when you were younger, how did you learn?
Oh, just by like feeling. Like,
When you were 2 or 3 years old?
Yeah.
Yeah.
it's like, what is that? She's like, what is that? It feels like soft.
Same thing
Not
about
being like actually like.
I'm just saying that's
Right, expand on that. Feeling.
Yeah,
On that. Try and work out a bit more about that. Expand on that a little bit.
Not like that.
Right, guys, it's echoing here, it's not too loud, okay? Just chat quietly and we'll discuss it these guys.
Just not getting
Yeah.
told what to do.
Always be a sponge.
You don't know if it's shy by the play.
Yeah, if you focus too much on information, you get too much on that, you might miss something else. Alright guys, go on. So guys, we were talking, we had a little bit of chat about some stuff. To remind me what it was?
It was about like, just like, it's independent, like you haven't been told what to do, you just can't like,
Just do it.
like it's a time habit, I don't know.
Yeah, you like just do stuff. Like you
Yeah.
just like do stuff, and then you're not really like told what to like focus on, and then you just take it
Yeah. So yes. How did you catch that ball? How did you catch it? Tell me. With your palm. Who taught you how to catch? Or did you just learn by doing it? Yeah, learn by doing it. So that's our unconscious mind. So we just learn, we just try stuff. And if you don't try things, you're not going to learn anything, are you? So you were talking about challenging yourself before. You've got to actually try it to be able to challenge yourself, to push yourself on, to learn a little bit more. Does that make sense? So you guys were talking about different types of practice. Do you want to share with everyone what we were talking about?
Like keep doing the same thing so you remember.
Yeah? So repetitive, doing the same thing over and over again. What part do you think of the memory does that work towards? Is it muscle memory? So we're honing one particular skill. So give me an example of a skill.
Like the sweep shot.
Sweep shot. Yeah, okay, so we just practice sweep shot. We know it's going to land in the same spot every time we're on a machine, for example. So just one machine, we're just sweeping, sweeping, sweeping. How do we know when we're going to sweep? How do we know we should be sweeping?
Because your brain processes that length, you have to be able to control.
Yeah. And why do you
Because
practice?
because you practice that as much memory, you're going to know because you've been training, you've trained yourself to do that.
Yeah.
Particular.
Yeah. So when your brain's working that out, do you think it's your conscious brain or your unconscious brain going, right, I need to sweep this?
Your conscious.
Unconscious.
Unconscious brain. Why is that?
You're not really like. You're not really.
No, because you're not thinking. Because
You're
you
not
know
really
what's
like
going on.
expecting
Yeah.
it to be there. You're just like.
Because you know it so well, you don't have to think about it.
Yeah. So that's known as perception. So you're perceiving where the ball's going to be. You're working out through repetition, through your practice, through what you've done in the past, that is the right thing to do. So your brain has gone, right, I've seen this before. There's a pattern here. It's going to land somewhere about there. I know a good shot to get rid of that, so I will sweep. So your brain takes over. Okay, so that's the perception side of the brain. So it knows, it gives you clues. So say you're facing a fast bowler, for example, and you're trying to work out what sort of delivery he's going to get. Okay, how are you going to learn his techniques, his patterns?
By playing against.
Playing against him, by watching him, by seeing him bowl. Okay, you can't just rock up and hope for the best. So if you've got a bowling machine and you're just dropping balls in, does that give you any idea as to what might be coming? Other than the fact that you already know its position. No, so you're not really getting a pattern. You're not working out what's actually happening. So if, as a bowler coming into bowl, you'll see a ball being delivered from here, and you'll know that that's full, that's short. Whereas a bowling machine, you're just dropping in. Okay. So in terms of learning, what do we think is better for our development in order to be able to perform as a player?
Like proper bowlers.
Proper bowlers, yes.
Yeah.
Proper bowlers, absolutely. Not only is that good for a batter, but it's good for the bowler as well, because the bowler then can work out plans for the batsman, so he can see through.
Just a question, guys. If you haven't got any bowlers, what's the next best thing then? Sidearm. Why is the sidearm the next
Oh,
best
because
thing?
you can't stop protecting.
It's just a bowler.
It's not a particular machine. You can't like with a bowling machine. You can't predict where it's
Yeah,
going to be.
exactly. With the sidearm, as a coach, you can bowl with the seam up, so the ball is obviously swing around a little bit. The length I can change, so it's very similar to a bowler. Obviously not exactly like a bowler, but it's probably better than a machine. So it's another step. You know what I mean? It's very close to a bowler, isn't it? So that's probably the next best thing after the machine.
That's
what
what
I'm saying.
Or even throwdowns as well,
Yeah.
because you can pick up, so you're picking up actions. So anything from this to that, you're going to pick up an action, you're going to work something out, you're going to see a wall against how a surface reacts, for example. Okay, so quickly, you guys are going to talk again together, do it quietly, because it does echo in here. Come up with five sport players who you think are at the top of their game and how they got there. Okay, so why they became top of their game. And same with you guys as well, some of the fives. Right, so five sport players, any sport. Okay, and why they got there and how. Guys, you our volume's gone up a lot here, guys.
Did I say that's three players? Why would you do that?
Almost equal. In the right.
You just need to.
It's not just you don't just get a ball.
Yeah, but the thing
Tactics.
is, you just need to like find what you need.
I don't want to talk about it, I don't want to
People together. If you're Suarez and you want to go, all you got to do is like
Cristiano Ronaldo.
not really. Not Lois.
Is it the twice now?
What's the final choosing?
You don't who's
So far, I've heard two names repeated over and over again.
Let's do Cristiano Ronaldo. Other people. You think
Think about why they're not playing.
one of the hardest projects. CBC is like, oh no, we should
Think about their history as well, what they've done together.
should the others you
The painting
How you guys getting on?
It was one of the
I've heard names of
Very
people
well.
over and over again over there.
See how much
What have you got so far?
It's great, maybe see how much
So wait, you guys are supposed to be talking about how we all might have got to stuff like that.
Yeah, no,
Kinetic
All about what they've done together, so when they were young, how they do it.
They practice a variety of shots.
Let's just do, no, let's very well.
You practice different scenarios, how to break that
This is great.
ready for excellent balance.
You've gone on quiet. Come on then, right, let's come back. We've got about 10 minutes here. Right, so who do we go for? Go on.
Well, we first we decided on Muhammad Ali
Yeah.
because he trains really hard. Most boxers come from a rough background,
Yeah.
so he trained his way up to get to the top. He trained
Yeah.
hard as the best.
Okay, where did you train?
I don't know.
Don't know. Do you guys know?
Obviously in a
gym.
Did you have all high tech stuff?
No.
Just like
Running.
also the
Amazing Creed.
You have to be cautious.
I'm gonna say.
Yeah, let's not digress into watching Creed, okay? So we've got Muhammad Ali, who else? De Villiers, yeah. Who else?
Ronaldo.
I was gonna say CR7 because that's a short one.
Okay, Ronaldo, who else?
You said one.
Yeah.
Okay, one year, one year.
Who else? Solomon? That's five then. What about you guys?
We got
LeBron James.
Come on, let's start this. Guys, come on. Messi. And who? Joe Root. Okay. I only got 3 of those, but that's fine, that's fair enough. So I got them, of course I got them.
Can we talk about John Cena?
Yeah.
Because his logo is never give up.
Okay, so just look at those. You talked about Muhammad Ali. What about, let's talk about Bolt and his, where's he
When it
go?
came more in this country,
Lots of sprints, yeah.
well, in this country it's quite like poor, so therefore he didn't really have the best spikes or
He's never the best equipment you train with.
the country was mostly slums.
Trained wherever he could, didn't he?
Yeah.
And that's how he got to learn how to run.
Is there
That's
a small
very-
track or something?
Yeah. So you don't need the best stuff. Sullivan, what about him? Ronnie O'Sullivan?
Who's Salute?
Oh, yes, you can explain this more.
Who?
The best in the world. He's the best players. The best in the world.
Yeah, I know.
I bet LeBron James does.
Oh, LeBron.
We've only got another 5-6 minutes, so tell me more about Sullivan. Do you know anything about his background?
No.
Did you know he went to prison?
I see it.
When he was a kid, he had a really tough upbringing, a really unpleasant upbringing. He brought up in the wrong areas, the wrong neighbourhoods, but he still went down and practiced his snooker every week. Have you noticed how he can play both left and right-handed?
Yeah.
Well, how do you think he learned that?
Well,
By practicing, but also by doing.
it was just like, we probably just.
Yes, remember it.
It's not
Yes,
that.
leave the table.
He gave it a go, didn't he?
But now we're looking for
So do you think anyone taught him how to play left-handed?
No, he just like messed around himself.
Yeah, messed around himself, just worked it out. Same with someone like Messi, Ronaldo, a lot of the Brazilian players. Where they play, what sort of surfaces they play?
Concrete.
Oh, and now they came from
Stone, road,
Came from
wherever they can. The West Indies, cricket,
Oh, beach.
beach cricket. Yeah, how much different is that? They play in the streets, endlessly in the streets. Same in India, they play everywhere. Do they have people coaching them? No. Do they learn? Yes. Are they some of the best players in the world? Yes. And that is because they're acquiring skills whilst in the street playing. How many of you do that?
Go to school.
Not about school, yeah?
Play.
We're going to school, yeah?
Play.
Yeah?
Yeah.
You got brothers? Anyone got brothers?
Yeah.
Your brothers shop all over?
Yeah.
I used to my brother and sister be outside chopping balls with me endlessly when I was a kid. I'm sure they did enjoy it, but I certainly did.
I just love the wings in the morning.
So there's every opportunity, you've got to learn these things. So you learn to play on different tracks, different things, different surfaces. We get wobbly outfields. How are you going to play? How are you going to learn to play on that? By playing, by doing it. Right? So how do we get that? How can we convert that into a cricket-related practice?
So like you said about the left-handed, just give it a go.
Yeah, give it a go.
And like try to do left-handed as well.
Where do we do that?
Like
In the net? It's a good place. It's good stuff.
School.
Yeah, wherever, whenever. Outside, school break time. Why not? Give it a whirl. You try stuff. So last week when we did that 360 thing, to start with, we struggled a little bit, didn't we? And then when we said just do stuff, just try stuff, you had a great time, didn't you? You were loving it. Absolutely made the turnaround and saying just do what you want, try it, just hit it. And it's amazing how many things you learn just by trying and just by doing. And that soon ingrains itself into your head. So you get to the stage where your perception is you will know immediately from your practice, from what you've done in the past, how you're going to react to something. And from that then comes a decision. So you know, given the decisions you've made previously, because you will make mistakes, and you'll learn to change that mistake in order to make it a positive. So your decision making will say, I tried that last time, but it didn't work. I tried that another time, and it did. So I'll do that this time. So I'll go for the sweep shot rather than trying to hit it over the top. Because that I got out to, that I didn't. So that's your decision making. So you go from that to your perception, and your decision making, and then your execution of the shot. And that's the the unconscious brain acting rather than the conscious brain. So when you're batting on your body and you're doing something, just relax, thoughts off, and just let your brain take over. Because all the practice you do now, provided you try things, do things, and then hone those skills, will pay off. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So we can do that with all our cricket-based stuff. So anything from in-game situations are probably your best ones. Okay, out here we can net as much as we like. We can we do a lot of repetitions. You guys talk about honing in one skill. So today, doing that with the special spin, we've been looking at putting through the leg side, putting through the offside. We've worked on those specific skills. You can then change that in a game situation, so it doesn't feel like there's different deliveries, different types. You can hit in certain directions, do what try that what we did last week. We call that overloading, so challenging variable outcomes. Okay, does that all make sense? Everyone understand now what skill acquisition is? So if I ask you next week, you're all going to be able to tell me exactly what skill acquisition is.
If I can remember.
So tell me again the two different types of brain. Which one's the one that works for us? Unconscious. So your unconscious mind, because you've already ingrained everything, it's a mushroom, you've ingrained everything into it, so your unconscious mind takes over and you just go and play your shots. Do you think when you're playing your cover drive, do you go front foot forward and then you know you're going to play? No, you just go bang. And it's done. That's your unconscious mind taking over. Okay, so we need to ingrain it onto that. The three channels that we have when we're playing, when we're doing that, when we're having an action, are sequencing. Remind me what they were. P. Starts with P.
Or practice.
No.
Perfect.
No. Literally just said it. Perception. Perception. Okay, what's next? What happens after perception? Decision. Perception, decision, and then what? Execute. So we're good at executing, not so good at from there. So remember there's perception, decision, execution is our unconscious mind. We're explaining that in. Okay? Well done guys, that was a really good session today. We will see you next week. Thank you very much. Well done. See you guys next week. Pleasure. Gosh, that was me. Right, so we've got about half an hour. Just chill out, get some drink, have a chat beforehand as well, and we'll be ready. Yeah. posing for my camera.